Hey everybody, welcome to another video episode of CigarFellas.com. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not actually going to start out with beer reviews or wine reviews or cigar reviews. We're actually going to talk to a good friend of mine, Damian Thomas. And Damian is starting his own brewery, or looking to start his own brewery. And Three Twins, correct?
Yes.
Right, yep. So I kind of wanted to sit down and talk to Damian a little bit and kind of help to promote him, get his name out there, whatever we have to do. So, I guess, the first thing we should probably get to is, really, why beer? I mean, why would you choose beer over, say, building cars?
Well, I've always loved beer since I was of legal age to drink it. I've always loved it, loved all the different types, varieties, and styles. And it was getting to the point where it was getting really expensive for me to have all the great beers of the world, to buy them all the time. And I had to rely on, the Millers and the Bushes and the Labatts. So I originally got into brewing just for financial reasons. And I really fell in love with the process. It's a lot of fun to me. And you can do it with friends, you can do it by yourself, doesn't matter. It's great. And the other thing that I fell in love with, that I found out, is if you can find a recipe pretty much anywhere for any style of beer on earth. Stuff that's not even available around here. Like right now I'm brewing a Highland Heather Ale that I've never seen. And I've been to a lot of beer stores, a lot of big, huge liquor stores. Never seen it. And I get to experiment with it. I have to have fun with it. And, just brewing all kinds of different stuff that's either really expensive, like I do a bunch of Belgian doubles and Belgian triples. And they're about the same price as every other beer I do. So it ends up being about 40 cents per 12-ounce bottle compared to, $10, $15 where you get it at the store. But I love it. I love the variety, and having the whole internet access, available to me, all the recipes out there. And like I said, I can brew stuff that is hard to find or impossible to find locally.
Yeah, and that's that's great. I mean, it's a reason that I think a lot of people do. I would say that the thing that intrigues me most about what you said was that you get to experiment and try all these different beers that normally you may not have an opportunity to try. I mean, I'm still in that boat where I chase down those beers. So, I'm constantly on the lookout. I constantly travel the state of Michigan. Most of the people out there know that I am a huge Michigan brewery person. I try as hard as I can to only buy Michigan brews. It's not that I have anything against other people. It's just I'm a firm believer in our economy. And not only that, but I'm a firm believer that Michigan has the best beer in the world. Bar none. I just really, truly do. And, with that, so what are your future plans, or what are you looking to do? Obviously right now, doing home brew and stuff like that, it's not like you can really go out and sell it to people. So exactly what are you trying to do? What is your goal?
My goal is to have a brewery kind of in the lake area, St. Clair Shores, Mount Clemens, Harrison Township, that area, and have a 7-barrel system. And become an actual brewer, get my license, and actually be able to sell it. And it's kind of a hard thing to do. If I was building cars or building motorcycles, you don't have to jump through as many hoops with the government to do it. If I wanted to start a computer repair shop, I could do that tomorrow. But right now, I can't sell it. It's fine for me to come here, give my beer away, take beer to parties and give it away, but as soon as money changes hands, that's a big problem. So I can't go through the usual business process of starting small, selling it to my friends, selling it to my friends' friends, getting my name out there, getting a little bit bigger, selling it to more people, and building up and gradually getting to that 7-barrel, big-time system. So it's kind of all or nothing. And, that's where I need the help. That's where I need to get my name out there, get interest in this, and hopefully, find investors. Because it is really expensive, and I can't incrementally work my way up to that.
All right. Well, I can tell you that, and I have had some of your beers. They are, seriously, I can remember the first time that we met, and I took a drink of your beer, and I was just like, wow. I drink a ton of beer. I love beer. I drink it all the time. There's always beer in my home. It's not that I would say I'm an alcoholic. Well, maybe I am. I don't know. Nobody likes a quitter anyway, so I'm not going to quit no matter what. But, I can remember just tasting your beer and just saying to myself, wow, like, I didn't realize that a home brewer could make something that was so delicious that it was shocking to me why it wasn't, out on the market. Or as a matter of fact, I think that was my question to you was, how come you're not bottling this and why don't you have your own brewery? The only thing I can say about that is, hopefully someday, because, I'll definitely be there to see it open.
And the only thing stopping me from selling it right now is my financial situation. If I won the lottery tomorrow, if I got a blank check, I would do this tomorrow. I would start selling it, bottling it, whatever the public wanted, I would do it. So that's my only stumbling block right now. And it's really easy. That's a great thing about being a home brewer. It's not that hard. You have to know what you're doing, but you really don't have to know the intricacies of it too much until something goes wrong. And if you prepare well enough, you're unlikely to have anything go wrong. You might get a bad batch here or there. You might find a bad recipe that you need to tamper with. Luckily, that hasn't happened to me. In the years I've been brewing, I've only had to dump one batch down the driveway.
Sorry, I was thinking alcohol abuse there for a second.
Yeah, and I was crying in 10 gallons down the driveway. And that was the first time I tried all grain. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. Not so much anymore, but yeah, that's the great thing. I can make anything. I can take any beer style, any beer brand you like. There's clone recipes out there. I can probably figure out my own recipe for it, and I can make this great. I'd like to call it world class beer. It's a little bit of hubris, but I love my beer. I really do, and it's really great. And I'm living the good life. I get to drink this stuff, pretty much every day for cheap.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I have to be, up front and say that I love your beer. And for me, this is listen, I've had lots of people's homebrew. We all have friends, and we all have people that homebrew. And I've had a chance to taste some of these, and they're not bad. They're not bad at all. But most people that I run into, for some reason or another, have not gotten it down the way that you have, in my opinion. You've sent me with some of your other beers, and I'm just seriously, I'm blown away. So, I would say the next step is, let's quit talking and let's start drinking some beer.
Sounds good.
All right, let's do that. Here.
Now, this is a Belgian Wit. It is a fairly light wheat beer, and it's flavored with coriander and with fresh orange rind. So it took me a while to get the recipe down, because anyone out there who brews will know that coriander can get out of hand real quick, and it's really delicate to work with. So I finally got it, and it's a little bit heady from the car ride over here, but it should still be crisp and good.
It looks good. I can definitely see the fizzing happening here. The color on it is a perfect amber, in my opinion. It's got a nice fragrance to it. I don't know. I like to drink beer, not just talk about it. So,
cheers.
Wow, that is that's good. I think I did have this before. I know that we talked a little bit, yep. And we have obviously met before, and I think you're right. I think I did have a bottle of this from you before, and this is definitely very wow. It's kind of interesting. The head on it is almost like whipped cream. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I get it stuck on my mustache all the time. And but it is a very heady beer. It's just the nature of it.
That is, it's got some real body to it. There is, I know that we've, most people will look at a beer like this and they'd say, man, it's a light beer, but let me tell you, that thing is full of flavor. There is a ton of flavor in that beer.
Yeah, the coriander and the orange and the hops give it a lot of flavor. And it is kind of a light beer, but this is about as close to light as I get, and compared to the other things I do, like the porters.
Sure.
And that's what I really love is the dark beers. So this is about as light as I get, but by no means is it a light beer. It's about 4 or 5% alcohol content. Like you said, very flavorful. So not in the range of normal light beers what you'd think of in American Pilsner or American Light Lager.
No, not at all. I mean, my mouth is going so many different directions right now that it's almost hard for me to put my finger on it. I mean, I can definitely taste the coriander. There's definitely orange in there. Man, there's so much going on in this. I mean, it's a great beer for like a hamburger. Like that's what I would associate that beer with, is like, eating a huge hamburger and something to rinse it down with. This would be the perfect choice for me to have with a hamburger, or to have with maybe a steak, or I guess a dinner beer. This is great for that.
This is like the perfect summertime beer because it's not so dark and so heavy, but it's still flavorful. And you can sit outside in 90-degree weather on a boat all day and drink this.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is really it's kind of the flavors in my mouth, the after effect is just really happening. Like it's hard to put my finger on exactly what's going on. It's almost a little it's almost got grapefruit in it. It almost has like a grapefruit type of flavor. I don't know if you picked that up, but I almost kind of get that feeling of grapefruit in my mouth.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fruitiness from the hops I use in here, but the flavors really aren't that strong. It's got not much of an aftertaste, and it's got a pretty clean finish to it.
So, with this, have you come up with a name for this, if you were to, or not yet?
Not yet. I've got a few names I've been throwing around with my friends who are going to be going into business with me if I can get this off the ground, and we've been throwing names back and forth for a few of them, but right now it's just the Belgian Wit.
The Belgian Wit. Well, let me tell you, I in all honesty, I mean, I'm not a real huge light beer drinker. I mean, we all were at one point, right? I mean, every one of us started out somewhere, and with the exception of very few people, especially here in the United States, most of us started out with Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller Lite, something like that. But after experiencing and falling in love with beers, you have a tendency to kind of move forward, and when you do, you generally pick an avenue, which way you're going to go. And I just happened to pick dark beer, but I have to be honest, man. I mean, this is really, really a great beer. I mean, I would say that, like I said, I mean, this is like the perfect dinner beer for me. I think somebody's trying to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I think so. I can wait.
But, so tell us a little bit more about what made you pick this type of beer over, something else. I mean, were you just out experimenting and kind of came across one and said, wow, that's pretty good?
Yeah, like I said, I started off with the darkers. I started off with porters and Dunkelweisens, and I just wanted to experiment. I wanted to try, as many different beers as I could. Right now I have, I think, about 13 or 14 different beers that I make. I try to stay seasonally as much as I can, to their traditional brewing times. But yeah, I have, like I said, about 13 beers that I go through that I've tried making and I loved and might have tinkered with a little bit. But yeah, this one just struck me as really good, and all my friends liked it, and everyone that tried it loved it. So I stuck with it, and I keep brewing it, and yeah, it's a big hit at parties.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I can tell you this, from us here at Cigar Fellas, if this stuff ever hits the market, you're going to want to try some. Fortunately for me, I happen to know the guy that makes it, so I get to drink it. Hey, listen, thanks for coming on and talking about your beer here, and, till next time, I'm Moose. You can always check us out at cigarfellas.com.
This is a Dunkelweizen, It basically means a dark wheat. As you can see, it's fairly dark, very malty, has a little bit of the crispness of the wheat. This is one of my favorite beers. I just love this, and I've been brewing it for a long time, and I've played around with it a lot, and I think I've mastered it. There's quite a wide variety in the Dunkelweisens that you can find, if you can find them. They're pretty hard to come across. But if you have a Frankenmuth Dunkelweizen, it's going to be fairly different from this one. This one's a lot darker, which probably comes from my love of porters and stouts and all things dark.
For sure. So what can we expect from the flavors in this beer?
It's basically kind of like a light porter. It's a lot of chocolate, a lot of caramel notes to it. It's very malty, a very thick mouthfeel.
Excellent.
And it's it should be very smooth.
Well, cheers. Let's give this a shot.
All right.
Like a Tootsie Roll. That is, you know, to me, that is, you're right, that is a perfect beer for me. I am a huge fan of chocolate. I love the chocolate stouts. I seek them out right now we're in the fall of Michigan. It's a good time to start finding these beers. Most of the Michigan breweries out are putting out their versions of their kind of chocolate stouts, things like that. And boy, I can tell you that is right on the money. I mean, it's not so strong that it's offensive, and it's not so light that you're like, really, where's the chocolate? It's great.
It's the perfect beer for the season. It's a perfect fall beer. Goes well with Halloween candy.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. It's I can definitely pick up the caramel, and that's kind of odd because I've never really been somebody that can necessarily, you know, you read about a lot of these beers out there that people, you know, are brewing, and you try them, and you know, they're like, oh, you should be getting caramel notes and chocolate notes, and yeah, I usually get the chocolate, but I don't usually get the caramel. And in this, I can really taste that caramel. It's almost like it almost tastes like I've been sucking on like a chunk of caramel for a while, and it's sliding down my throat, kind of feeling of that caramel. And that's really what.
There's a lot of different types of caramel malt out there, ranging from very low, they call it the L20, to very high, I think it goes around 120. And I've played around with most of those in this beer, trying to find out what works best. And all those different malts have different characteristics to them. But yeah, this one is just perfect.
It really is. I mean, you know, you're right. I mean, I think the only thing that would be better right now is if I had a nice, like, Liga to go with this. I mean, I'd love to be smoking a cigar. Unfortunately, my wife would probably shoot me for sitting in her dining room and smoking a cigar and, you know, well, not drinking the beer, but at least smoking the cigar. But, man, I just, you know, it's kind of interesting how you can almost see, you can almost see what it tastes like. You know, and I mean, I know it's kind of a funny thing to say, but, you know, just kind of swirling it around, you know, I can just tell that this is real chocolate, kind of caramely. You know, it has a lot of those characteristics.
Yeah, and the camera probably can't see it, but from the backlight, when you're holding it against the window, almost has a rubiness to it.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
Nice little amber highlights in it, so tastes good and it's a beautiful beer.
Yep, oh, I agree. You're right. Holding it up to the light, the camera won't catch that.
Yeah.
It is. It is very ambery. But yeah, wow, just another great beer, man. It's a good thing that we don't live next door to each other. Because I'd be drinking a lot more of this stuff. I can tell you that. Wow. So, have you come up with any names for this one? I mean, I know that we kind of talked about that in a few of the other videos. I didn't know if maybe you know, this has actually crossed your mind yet.
Yeah, we're thinking about you know, either First Twins Medicine or Second Twins something or other. Second Twins Desire, Third Twins. I think that's for this is going to be one of our flagship beers. So I think we're going to go with like 3 or 4 flagship beers that we brew year round, despite this being a seasonal beer. just because I love it so much. But those we're gonna have, first twin, second twin, third twins, whatever.
Yep.
That's the name for
And
it.
and that's awesome. I mean, for me personally, that's an awesome thing to hear from somebody who is a beer lover. There's an Oktoberfest out there that most of my friends know that I am a diehard for, and the only downfall is it's once a year. So it's like I have to go out and buy like as much of this as I think I'm going to drink through the winter and stick it into my garage and hold on to it for X amount of time, and never really, and it'd just be nice to be able to have some fresh stuff during the year. So it's kind of interesting that you'd say that, you're looking to, do this through the year, because I think that's what needs to happen with some of these really delicious beers. There's always time for a good dark beer. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'd love to stay traditional and true to the seasons of beer, because there is a very vast seasonalness to all the different beers that are out there. But I just love this one too much, and this is one of the few beers that I do brew throughout the year.
Sure. Well, listen, thanks for joining us again. I definitely appreciate it. This beer is just another one in the of the amazing beers that that I've had that you've made, and we'll have to review a few more of those. So thanks again for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Going to explain, what do we have here in front of us today?
This is a Doppelbock, which very simply is a double bock. A bock is kind of a mid-range beer, not too light, not too dark, about 5% alcohol. This is a Doppelbock. Basically, you double the recipe, you get almost double the alcohol content. So this is right around 8 or 9%. Again, pretty malty, really sweet, kind of mid-range between smooth and crisp. And I really like it. I think it has a really great taste, a really great aftertaste.
So what flavors can we expect from this?
This is going to be malty, a lot of caramel, I think. There should be a tiny hint of chocolate, but that's kind of hard to pick up unless you really have a good palate for it.
It's got a very interesting smell to it.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of fruity esters too because of the high alcohol content. Actually, if you're not used to hard alcohol, you might even feel a little bit of alcohol warming in the mouth, on the tongue. That's not uncommon at all when you get into this range of alcohol content.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.
It's interesting. I didn't get any real warming like you were talking about, but then again, I freaking drink all the time, so everybody knows I'm a losh. I'm just kidding. But wow.
Yeah, I get it a little bit, but I never touch hard alcohol. Well, rarely do I drink hard alcohol, so I get it a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be different for everyone.
Is Scotch hard alcohol?
But I'm definitely picking up a little bit of the esters in it, which I think is a nice touch on.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot going on with that. And man, you have some of the most interesting beers, honestly. I mean, I've yet to have one that I didn't like, which is really odd because normally, listen, I go all over the place. I travel to all these different breweries. And I always get to sit down and I always order their little sampler, and there's always a few that I'm just like, nah. I don't know if I just have like the same type of palate that you do or the same type of love for the beers that you make, but man, I just can't get over the fact that there's none of them that are bad. I wish you had all 13 or 14 that you make here.
and that's the great thing about being a home brewer is I only brew what I want to brew. And, that's going to change. If I go commercial, I probably am going to be forced to do a light beer sooner or later. The only way I would do it is if I'm losing business over it, though. Because I really don't want to go there.
Well, we all bring our wives once in a while
yeah.
to the bar.
Well, I do a fruity wheat, which is pretty similar to the wit we had earlier. But again, that's as low, that's as light as I really want to get. And yeah, it's great. I get to brew whatever I want, whenever I want it. And, you know, so I stick to the good stuff. I stick to the stuff that's hard to find or that's really expensive or, you know, really complicated to do. I love trying new things. I love experimenting with it.
Sure.
And this is actually my first time brewing this.
Well, I can tell you that I misspoke because I do have that warming feeling now,
Yeah,
and it's not in my mouth. It's in my esophagus and in my stomach. I can actually feel it almost like I remember when I was a kid, you know, and you know all of our, well, if you're as old as I am, most of our parents or whatever would let us sip out of the bottle once in a while, you know, just because, you know, and growing up here in Michigan, you know, we used to all go snowmobiling and sledding and things like that, and it got cold, and you know, I'll never forget that warming feeling of my dad's 7 and 7, and you know, and that's kind of what it reminded me of, is that it's real subtle, but yet you can definitely feel that it's kind of warming you up, and to be honest, I kind of consider this like a comfort beer. I know it might sound a little weird, but you know, it's like, you know, you can have comfort foods and things like that, and to me, this thing really kind of makes me feel like, man, this would be perfect if I had a fire going in the other room and it was cold outside and we were just kind of sitting there and, you know, enjoying a beer around a fire and watching a football game or something like that. That's kind of what I gather from this beer, but man, this is really, really, this is good. This is absolutely delicious. And is this definitely something that you plan on keeping around?
Oh yeah. I really like this one. I'm definitely this will probably be a seasonal beer, probably in the winter, fall and winter, maybe into the spring a little bit. Just whatever demand is. You know, if people want to have 6 or 7 different beers, I'll have 6 or 7 different serving tanks, and I'll serve whatever they want all year. But yeah, this is traditionally kind of winter beer. And it's interesting that you call it a comfort beer because the history behind this is what the monks used to drink when they were fasting. They would just drink this and not
drink themselves silly, apparently. Because I can tell you what, if I was drinking this on an empty stomach.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff in it. It's a fairly healthy beer as far as beers go. There's a lot of good stuff in it, so you can, if you're going to do a beer fast, this is the one to go by.
Really? Liquid diet. I can feel one coming up. I don't know how work would feel about that, but...
Yeah, it's not, as long as you're not using heavy machinery.
Yeah, or playing with networks across the United States and the world. Either way, I should probably stay away from it at work. Wow. Yeah, that is really... Not a lot of aftertaste either. It's very clean in my mouth. You know, I don't feel like, you know, it's not, my palate doesn't taste coated or anything like that. I don't feel like, you know, sticky or, it doesn't even seem that heavy either. Almost
no,
like
it doesn't. This will sneak up on you.
Yeah.
It doesn't, when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like a high octane beer, and it doesn't taste like a high octane beer, but it's there. And yeah, I've caught myself, you know, I'll start drinking it and thinking it's like the Dunkelweizen, which is, you know, fairly low, like right around 4% alcohol, and start drinking this, get 4 or 5 into it. And
forgot you can't stand up quite fast enough, right? Right.
Forgot what I was doing.
Well, excellent. Well, listen, man, thanks again for another great beer, and we'll catch you next time here at Cigar Fellas. And what do we have now?
This is a pumpkin ale.
Pumpkin ale.
So it's got actual pumpkin in it. My first time trying it. Pumpkin spices, so it should taste...
It actually kind of smells like pumpkin.
Yeah, it should smell and taste kind of like a pumpkin pie. So a whole lot of spices mixed in there. A lot of cinnamon, clove, allspice, a whole bunch of other stuff.
So what should we expect to taste from this?
It's... I guess the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a light nut brown that tastes like pumpkin pie spices mixed in with it.
It's funny that he would say that, because when I took that initial drink, it reminded me of the nut brown.
Yeah. Yeah, the base grain bill is very, very similar to a nut brown.
Well, cheers. Let's try this out. It is. It's wow. That's actually the spices in that. I get kind of like a nutmeg,
Yeah.
kind of. It almost does it. It really is. It's like the finish of a spicier pumpkin pie. You know, we've all had pumpkin pies where, you know, one's kind of more bland, more towards the sweet side, and then you have pumpkin pies that are more towards the spicy side. This is definitely like towards that spicy side of pumpkin pies. And man, that's really, it's amazing that you could actually come up with that that kind of flavor out of a beer. Wow. So where was the inspiration for this?
I honestly didn't like pumpkin beers until about a year ago. And I hadn't tried one in a few years, and just by chance I tried another one. I guess my palate has changed. I really liked it and decided to do one myself. So grabbed a bunch of pumpkins, carved them up, baked them, and threw them in the boil kettle with a bunch of spices. And this is what I got. This is my first attempt at it. I'm going to change it a little bit because I'm not completely happy with the actual pumpkin flavor. I think it's a little too light, so next time, instead of just using your standard jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, I'm going to actually use pie pumpkins. And that should bring out that flavor a little bit more. Because right now, it's kind of in the back. It's kind of an afterthought.
Well, maybe I can convince you to keep this one around and like make it like the pumpkin light, because this is really good to me. I wouldn't say that. I don't know. This is really interesting. Like I wouldn't have thought that I would have been as intrigued.
Yeah, the spice flavors will stay the same, and you know that's what I do with all my beers. Do it, like it. If I really like it, if I love it, I just keep it the way it is. Something like this, I'll play with it maybe once or twice, but depending on how the next batch comes out, I might go back to the original recipe and just keep it as it is. I've done that before, and I'll probably do it again.
Right, sure. Will this be a seasonal thing then?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you right now that I wish you guys could all taste this, because it's really, really interesting. You know, not to compare you to anybody, but you're absolutely right. If you look at like a fireside nut brown, that's exactly kind of that ambiance that you get, and to me, that's one of my favorite wintertime brews. So this is just right up that alley, and very very unique though, because it doesn't have the Tootsie Roll aspect of that. It has more of the spicy pumpkin pie aspect of it, and it's really interesting to have on my palate, I guess.
Yeah, there should be more of a caramel note than a chocolatey note to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can definitely tell there's not a lot of chocolatey note to that, which really makes it actually really interesting, because I am definitely a chocolate fanatic when it comes to beers, but this is definitely right up there as, you know, just another one, man. Just wow. Like, I can't believe how, I don't know how good your beers are, man. They're just ridiculously good. I mean, we need to come up with like a taste division thing. You know, I mean, we've got 3D video, now we got to have taste video, and you know, just a little strip shoots out of your TV and you can taste it, because this is amazing. But hey, listen, thanks for joining us again, and we'll have more reviews from Damien and some of the other beers that he crafts up throughout hopefully throughout this winter and into the spring. Until next time, you can check us out at www.cigarfellas.com. I'm Moose. Have a good one.